This is getting out of hand. In just a space of 3 days, 2 women have lost their life tragically to one-chance armed robbery activity in Abuja. And we are barely 1 week into 2026. We first heard the story of a 28-year-old nurse by the name of Pascalina, whose lifeless body was found dumped along the roadside on the 4th of January 2026 after she had closed her shift the previous day, the 3rd of January. Nurse Pascalina was said to have worked at the Federal Medical Center, Abuja, at the VIP wing. And on the 3rd of January 2026, after closing from her afternoon shift, she left the hospital at around 8 p.m. believed to have boarded a public transport heading home, but unfortunately did not make it. Now, put in mind that no one saw anything, how it happened or at the time it happened. I mean, I'm sure someone saw something, but we've not gotten an eyewitness account. All we know is she closed from her afternoon shift, left the hospital, and the next day, the 4th of January, a lifeless body was found by the roadside. She was immediately identified and her body was deposited in the mortuary of the hospital where she works in, where she saves lives in. What an irony. Her colleagues were immediately distraught. Videos of her being celebrated began circulating online, and a call for the government to look at doing better in the treatment of healthcare workers became the theme of this incident. The police say they are investigating the circumstances surrounding her death. However, colleagues, friends, and people have taken to social media to share their thoughts and express their frustration. And it became a popular consensus that she was definitely a victim of the one-chance armed robbery activity, a deadly form of armed robbery that is common across Nigeria and now still popular in Abuja. For the most part. For those who may not know, one-chance armed robbery activity is usually when a group of deadly armed robbers pose as taxi drivers, public taxi drivers or bus drivers in most cases, as well as passengers. That is to say, someone boarding a public transport would go into a taxi or a bus, see the driver and see what appears to be other passengers, not realizing that every single person in that bus or taxi are a gang of armed robbers. And you going in thinking you're with other people going to work or going home, not knowing that it's a trap. Somewhere in the journey, you are accosted, robbed, beaten, and in most cases, killed in the bus before they throw you out of the vehicle while it's moving. That is usually the nature of one-chance armed robbery that we've seen in the past. It comes in many forms for the most part. It could also lead to kidnapping, organ harvesting, rape, and in most cases, death. It's unclear the state of Nurse Chinemerian's body, whether or not she was stabbed, strangled, beaten, shot, but it could also be as a result of the impact, assuming she was thrown out of the vehicle as it was moving in full speed. What is not clear is other possibility that could explain her death, as the police claim that they are investigating it. However, barely 24 hours after Nurse Chinemerian's story was going viral on the internet, we got to hear the story of another victim, a 54-year-old woman by the name of Chigbo Princess Mediatrix, whose picture of her lifeless body began circulating on the internet. The picture shows the body of a woman laying face down, appeared to be shirtless along the Kubwa Expressway, Abuja. And distance away from where her body was found, a handbag believed to be hers was also found, which clearly paints the picture of the possibility that she had entered a taxi or a bus, got robbed of her belongings, thrown out, and eventually when the armed robbers finished ransacking all the good things in her purse, they threw it out the window. Hence why her body was distance away from her personal belongings, a handbag. It was a young man who was going to work in the morning that saw the body, took a picture of it, was able to find her identity card, maybe in her purse, and also shared it online, hoping this would connect her to her loved ones. And it did not take long before she was identified as a former treasurer for the Nigerian Bar Association in Abuja. In just a space of 3 days, barely 1 week into the new year, 2 women have lost their life to the tragic activities of one-chance armed robbery gang, which, by the way, is common in Abuja. Last year, we saw multiple stories like this, and most of the victims appeared to have been women. At this point, if you're a woman living in Abuja, you got to put your guards up, especially if public transport is needed for your daily activities. If you need transport to go to work, go home, visit someone, and it happens to be public transport, yeah, you are at risk. And for a lot of women that I've noticed, being careful about falling for one chance, many of them tend to look at the other passengers. The moment they see another woman in the transport system, in the vehicle or in the bus, many of them tend to trust that it's safe. And that has proven to not always been the case. We've seen cases where one chance operators were arrested. And in many of these cases, there is a woman among the perpetrators. There is a woman among the gang. And that is the trick here. Most times, most women want to go into a public bus or a public transport. They look at everyone in the bus. If it's all men, they won't enter. I've been in a taxi where a woman looked in and saw that we're all men and she refused to enter. And I did not blame her at all. Even I personally, I would be scared to enter a taxi or a public transport where it's all men. I'm sorry. And I think most men will be scared to do the same. So it's not a thing of gender, but it's unfortunately what it is. And that is why many of them, when they see a woman in the vehicle, an elderly woman precisely, or a nursing mother with a baby, there is that reassurance of safety. But in most of the cases we've seen, these one chance operators have figured out the trick, have figured out a new way, have figured out that, yeah, if they are all men in the vehicle, they will not get a victim. And so they tend to set up multiple women in the taxi, in the bus, in the public transport to make it look safer for their intending victims. And I'm not going to lie, it works. How many genders are there? Just male and female. So it's just what it is. So if you're one of those people who looks at every other passenger and once you see a woman, your guard is down, that could be a sign, that could be a case, that could be an issue. And that could also be something that would make you fall easily for this trick, because many people are aware of one chance activities and somehow people still fall victims. And the only explanation is, yeah, that is what it is. Is there a way to be a lot more careful? Not quite. At this point, it's just up to God. And maybe refusing to sit between two people. Another thing again that I can say one should look out for is when you get into a taxi or you get into a bus and somehow it's not full yet, but they keep passing other passengers, they're refusing to pick other passengers, then it's an issue. Or you're in a public transport and they're trying to shove you in between two people, or let's say you get into the car and no time somebody gets in and they want to sit near you, because what they do also is they position themselves. These one chance operators are so tricky and somewhat smart. They will have a few of their gang members placed in the vehicle. When you enter, you're taking a precaution seat by the door. In case anything goes wrong, you jump out and risk it all. But what most passengers don't know is that they have also set up 2 more or 3 more gang members along the way to pick up as new passengers. That way it gives the intending victim the idea that, oh, I'm not the only new person here. These are all new people, so she feels a little safe. Whereas that is part of the trick all along. You go in a little further along the way, they pick up someone new, and you have no idea that the new person or the new people were also part of the whole trick all the while. For now, the only safe method I can think of is using Uber with the app itself. That way, I guess it can be tracked. Or that way, you know, it's just you and the driver. And maybe as a woman, yeah, go with pepper spray. Just get it and hold it in your hand. The moment you start sensing anything, just spray it at random. Spray it everywhere and let all just... It's one of those things. It's just one of those things. By the time you spray their eye, they will have a bigger problem than the knife or anything that they are holding. In fact, spray the driver first. Let the car crash. Let's all go down. Let's all crash into the bridge. Let's just all go down. It's just sad. It's really unfortunate that most women are going to be the victims of this tragic, terrible activity. And the government in Abuja, it's not doing enough. They're not doing enough. They got to do something about this.